Welcome, Neil, to MMA Junkie Radio. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Congrats, man. That was a great win over a great fighter. And I just love that you dug so deep to win, some of these rounds that were kind of close. And I think a lot of people had already started saying, could Neil be kind of like on the tail end, like kind of like on the decline or whatever? And you're here to show people that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely not the case. I mean, I definitely feel like I'm just starting to like blossom into like the full potential of the fighter I can be at this point. I have a great team around me, and we're making strides every day in the gym. So I feel like this is definitely beginning a new era for me.
Yeah, I mean, look at the names that you've put away in the past, like Lombard, Gastelum, Hendricks, former champ there. And so you did go through that phase where then you picked up a few losses. But I'll tell you, man, I really have a lot of love for guys like Robbie Lawler, Michael Bisping that kind of did that, that a little bit of an up and down ride. But then towards the latter part of their career, they still had what was honestly a true final run. And I'm not saying this is your final run, but this is a run that you can build off of, that could lead to something. And I think sometimes MMA fans and media can be fickle, and somebody experiences a couple losses and we already want to put you on a decline, when in reality, all the SOBs that you get in there with are really, really tough, man. That the welterweight division is stacked.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the last guy that I lost to being Positivo, he's been able to do great things. Before that, the last guy I lost was RDA. He went on to fight for a title shortly after beating me. So it's not like I'm losing to the guys that aren't in the top five or aren't being title contenders or champions themselves. So it definitely makes you feel a little bit better in the sense that I'm like knowing that I'm in there with the best of the world kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I'm ready to make that transition. I'm ready to go from being a top contender, being a guy that's actually fighting for a title, and becomes a world champion at this point in my career. I know I have the skill sets to do it. Just a matter of me being consistent at this point and put string a couple of wins together again.
Now, Jeff Neal's got some really nice boxing, some really nice hands, and some of those punches actually hurt you as well. How hurt were you, and where would you rank Jeff Neal amongst some of these other hard hitters that I mentioned before, some that went your way and some that didn't? And what was that experience like, having fought so many of those guys and then just knowing exactly what you can take and your level of comfort, being in the pocket with someone like that?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff is definitely a heavy hitter, dude. Like, it was kind of funny because after our fight, his coach was kind of looking at me backstage, and he's like looking at my face, and he's just like, he's literally sitting there amazed, like, holy hell, dude. How did you take those shots? Like, he threw everything at you. You're somehow still standing. So his coach like looking at my face, trying to like understand, like, how is it possible that you didn't fall with those shots? And I can only attribute it to the smaller cage. Like, literally a few shots, he knocked me back. And because I didn't have that many steps behind me before I fell, I kind of fell into the cage and caught my balance. But if that cage was any bigger and I had to take a step or two more to get there, I probably would have fell flat on my back and he would have followed with more damage. But like, he definitely hits like a freaking truck.
That's an interesting take. I've never thought about it that way. We bring up the size of the cage all the time, but not in terms of somebody taking a shot and maybe having more real estate to stumble and tumble. But wow, okay. Yeah, a lot of respect towards your opponent. That's awesome. You've had now a few days to decompress and think about what's next. But before we ask you what's next, how's your health, and when would you like to fight before we even talk about any names?
So health is pretty good. I mean, the Jeff Neal fight was interesting training camp. I went to that fight just dealing with some injuries that kind of kept me from training to my full potential in training camp. And a lot of those things showed in that fight. Being at the point in my career now and what I'm trying to get accomplished in the next couple of years, rest and recovery is to be just as important as me being active. So taking about the next 3 to 4 weeks or so to kind of rest those injuries, heal those injuries up and get back to a solid training camp would be my ideal game plan as far as like where my next fight's going to be. So looking at like an August time frame, which would allow me to do that, would be perfect. I mean, I can heal these injuries. I can get some solid things, training sessions in underneath me to kind of build off of things I did wrong in this fight, trying to and then progress from there. So August would be an ideal time frame for me to get back in there.
You mentioned the things you want to accomplish still, and it sounded plural to me. Now, I imagine one of them is always win a world title, but is there other stuff that you want to accomplish in your career?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, winning the world title is definitely the cherry on top of my career. But when it comes to it and having a family, I have to provide for them long after this sport's over with. So being able to set up things that are going to be around long after I'm done fighting is my goal as well. So not only am I chasing that title, definitely making sure I'm securing certain things outside the cage to allow my family to live well long after I'm done fighting.
Neil, when you go through the fight in your head and you think about what you went through in that fight, is there a particular moment that you can point to that you could say you were the most proudest about because you either made an adjustment or saw something, just something that made you really proud about that performance?
The biggest thing is just being able to like stay in the fight and not necessarily give up. I mean, like I was saying earlier, he cracked me with some pretty big shots. I mean, it wasn't by like any means am I exaggerating by how hard he hit me. Those shots are definitely heavy. And it's just like still kind of staying true and realizing like, hey, you know what, I'm still in the fight. It's not over yet. I still find a way to win, and then to go through all that and pull out the win. I mean, I'm proud of that. I mean, most guys would have folded after those first couple of shots that he took from Jeff Neal, but I was able to take those shots, keep going, and land some big shots of my own.
Neil, early on in a fighter's career, a matchmaker will come to the manager, to the fighter, and say, this is who we're thinking. These are some names. But as your career kind of progresses, fighters get to the level where they're sending that email. This is who I want. This is my wish list. You kind of told us August. Is there a particular place you would like to throw down? The world is starting to open up a little bit. And are there names out there that kind of a wish list that Neil Magny's had?
So ideally, if it was a perfect world scenario, I'll be fighting a guy like Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque is on a impressive win streak right now. He's ranked in the top 10. So that's definitely a guy that moves my career forward as far as getting closer to that top 5 and closer to a title shot. But at the end of the day, this is also an entertainment sport as well. And a guy like Khamzat Chimaev has been running his mouth a lot. And he's definitely a guy that kind of needs to get in there and get a fight. So if I'm unable to get a fight against a top-ranked opponent, I'm definitely not opposed to fighting a guy like Khamzat Chimaev in August.
Man, Neil, much respect, dude. You're a gangster. Seriously, I think if you throw in tough, your next fight will be number 30. I know you're over 25. And sometimes I feel like it's been a quiet 25. And I think us media need to put a little bit more shine on what you've done, how long you've done it, who you've been in there with. But seriously, much respect from our end. And Goes is right. You should get a say in who you fight next and when you want to fight. I think you've earned it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like those things are out of my control. I mean, like last year, I was getting a lot of credit from the media and fans for stepping up and willing to fight people publicly and that kind of thing, or not necessarily fighting publicly, but like go out publicly and say I'm willing to fight these different guys. But those fights never panned out, and I end up sitting there waiting 2 months, 3 months, 4 months for a fight, and it never really matured to anything. So at this point, realizing that I'm not getting any younger by the days, I'm in my prime right now. I want to make sure I make the most of that and make the best of this opportunity. So if it means I have to fight 3, 4 guys before I get that title shot, then I'm willing to do that. The one thing I'm not willing to do is wait around for that perfect ideal matchup. I'm going to go out there and make the perfect opportunity for myself.
Well, I did see the comments that you said on Saturday that you're still willing with Khamzat, but you know it's got to be kind of like on your terms or your timing or whatever. I remember Dana White, he got asked about him, and he said he's cleared 100%. So I'm sure the fans would love to see that matchup. But, boy, when you threw out Luque as a name as well, heck, man, he's been making some strides. I would love to see that one as well. And, again, going back to what I said earlier, welterweight division is stacked. Make sure it's one of them top-ranked names like you. And sign us up with fans too. We got to get them fans going. I think a lot of you guys have already done your dues and fought, without the fans, but I think you guys all deserve the fans as well. I mean, hopefully you're one of those that is looking forward to fighting in front of the fans. I know some say it doesn't matter to them at all. Can you tell us where you stand? Is that what you want?
So yeah, I definitely think the fans do. Like the fans give you a different type of energy altogether. It's really hard to get yourself super amped up and make that fight like that much more exciting where you're not getting that immediate like satisfaction for a big shot, a big takedown, or anything impressive that you do in the fight. It's like yeah, you just land this impressive takedown or this like crazy jump kick, and then like you hear dead silence. It's like, oh well, maybe it wasn't that great. So you're not really that excited to do it again, so to speak. But when you're throwing those big shots, you're landing those big takedowns, and the action's going in the fight, and you have the crowd chanting behind you, I feel like that definitely pumps you up and encourages you to go out there and fight harder and do better. So I can't wait for us to fight in front of the fans again.
I mean, think about it. If them gladiators back in the Roman times, if they got into a spat, somewhere away in the fields and no one saw it, it wouldn't be the same as in that glorious Colosseum. Or even think of your high school days. You and some dude get into it. You're walking down an alley and, you sort them out. All right, cool. You tell your friends about it. But it ain't the same as fighting behind that Jack-in-the-Box next to the high school. And everyone's watching, right?
Yeah, 100%, dude. I mean, like I said, like the energy with the fans there is completely different, and just like it's everything about it is amazing. I mean, I remember being able to fight last March. It was one of the last fights before the world kind of shut down. And after the fight, we're walking back to MGM, and one of the fans just kind of noticed that I was in the crowd walking, and out of nowhere, just like crowd is erupted, like, yeah, Neil Magny, and it was just like this crazy like stream of fans just like yelling and chanting my name and supporting me, and that energy makes you feel appreciated. You definitely enjoy it. So I can't wait to get back to that. I can't wait to get back to put on the show for the fans and get them fights that they appreciate.
No doubt. Thanks for sharing that story. That's a great story. We live in Vegas, so we know exactly what that's like. It's a fight town, and the fans love gravitating to the fighters pre and post fight. But that's very, very cool to hear. And thanks for the time today, man. Again, great fight against Jeff Neal. Congrats on the win. Congrats on the awesome career you've put together. We've noticed, and hopefully you get these fights that you want. You can make a nice title run.